So I wanted to show you quickly the collision that I made for the raft. Now it's going to be for the big level, so it's a little bit more of a complex collision, I would say. And the way that I did this is still much cheaper and much more accurate than turning on detailed collision. So what we're trying to do here is we never want to use complex collision as simple, and typically we always want to leave this as project default, and we would want to either create simple collision inside Unreal or create UCX collision like this. So everything has to be UCX underscore, and that UCX signifies a co convex collision piece. And there's actually online, if you search UCX collision Unreal Engine, it does have a diagram in the FBX. It's called FBX static mesh pipeline, and there is a description here of how to create custom collisions. So UBX underscore mesh name, and then the number creates simple box. Typically I don't use these first three because you can easily create collision box, sphere, or capsule collision in Unreal Engine, and I'll show you a quick way after of how to quickly do that, because it'll be an easy way of fixing the collision for more simple meshes. But for this one, it's a lot more complex because it takes up the whole level. So what I did here is, you can see there's about 500, almost 600 different pieces, and they'll be considered different primitives for collision once you import it. And the reason that they have to be all separate pieces is due to the fact that if they're not, then Unreal will detect it as a concave mesh, and it will fill holes. So think holes like this will just get filled automatically, and I can show you an example of that because I imported it as a test prior to me fixing all the collision. So if I look at the player collision, you can see I can see the holes through it. Oh, actually, I deleted the bad collision. Never mind, this is a bad example. What it will try and do, though, is this one here I created in Engine, and you can tell it's really bad. So I'll show you what it will do if you don't make them separate pieces. So if I just make this one hull, it'll try and fill the gap. It won't allow for concave shapes, and it shows that on the static mesh pipeline as well right here. So with UCX, which is considering it a convex object, it accepts things like this, but it does not accept things like this, and it will automatically fill holes like that. So that's why I created the collision like this. So if I turn off the raft, you can see this is the collision I made. And my suggestion to artists out there creating environment pieces from scratch, because this raft, it came from Unreal Marketplace, so I kind of had to build the collision backwards, and the mesh is already smoothed, so it's a little bit hard to decimate and get things accurate and also performant. So I ended up building every single piece, and you can see, like, even the blocks on the floor, they're all separate pieces, because if they were all one piece, it would just fill from this line to this line, and it would be a flat floor. It wouldn't allow for the, like, concave part of it. So even like the rails and stuff, everything straight is one piece. So I can provide this as an example if anyone wants an example of how to do some more complex stuff. And when you import it, there's a few settings that you're going to want to keep in mind. Oh, let me just select all these, export it, and we'll fix all this. So I'll re-import it. Oh, might take a second. It is being slow. Okay, so it's a big object. It's gonna take up, and I mean it's for the whole level. So I made a duplicate of the other raft so that we have a like a one that's not so that doesn't have so many primitives, and it'll just be kind of simple for some other levels or maybe background. But the settings that you're going to want to keep on. So when you import it, it'll give you some options for pretty much these settings here, what you're going to want to worry about. And the main one is one convex hull per UCX. You want this on. Otherwise, a lot of the times it just won't generate any collision, and you'll be wondering why. It's because of this. You don't really have to have generate missing collision on. That's optional. It will, if you have custom collision, it won't generate missing stuff. Combined meshes is kind of on a per mesh basis. So for this one, I had two separate meshes for my raft. I have metal and rubber, so I did combine meshes. That's pretty much it. There's a couple more import settings that aren't shown here. When it comes to materials, it'll ask you if you want to create new materials. Typically, you don't, because we will create. We have our own shaders that should have textures applied to them, and they'll get fixed over time. But now we can look in here and we can see we got much better collision on our floor, and it's gonna be much more performant. We can shoot through holes and stuff now. And like it's not as detailed as it would be if it was just using the mesh as detailed collision, but that's okay. That's how we want it. It's much more performant. If you're looking on maybe collision meshes that you should fix, look for things like this, because this is not good. Having holes and things where you can maybe shoot bullets through by accident or accidentally fall through. If it tries to mantle right here, it could glitch out really bad because the trace could like not hit anything here and go through the hole, and maybe it like tries mantling you through the mesh. So like things like this need to be fixed, and preferably like not double-sided, just like a sphere that's cut off on the bottom. Now, one trick you can do in Unreal for simple meshes, so something not like the boot, but more like a bottle or a fence that's just square. So I know this is a fence and a can. So I actually created these ones directly inside the engine, even these ones here. I figured out a cool method. Also, another thing to look out for, this is detailed collision. I can tell because it's really smooth. So these things we are going to want to fix. This I can tell is very simple because I did this, but it needs to be fixed and needs to be done in a much better way so that collision's a little more accurate. So something like this should be made in Maya, but I just did it in Engine real quick. So with the cans, for example, this is detailed collision. or no, it's not actually. That's just a capsule. My bad. But you can tell that on the cap, it's not really flat, even though that the mesh looks like it is. So this is something we should take into Maya and fix, because it's got some concave surfaces and it's got this flat top. And if I just made it like how I did this one, it would actually just go all the way to the top. It only allows to kind of create one piece when you do it like this, and I'll show you how I did that. So looking at the collision, I can go into lit mode, and we've enabled this modeling plugin, which is really handy a lot of the time. You can switch pivot points and stuff like that. But for collision stuff, when it comes to cans, because I know that that shape's going to be kind of popular, so this is a good way of doing this. You can go down to the attributes tab in the modeling mode and click the mesh to collision setting and change your geometry type to swept hulls, and your input mode you can leave default, and then just accept that. And you'll notice when I go into player collision now, this one's like that. So I can do the same thing with these other ones here, just kind of show an example. And we'll just accept it. It should fix it, even though it doesn't show the preview. What is this one? This one we can do as well. Preferably, I would like to do this in Maya too. Actually, I'll just leave that one because we'll make it two separate pieces in Maya. That's the preferred way. Things like this as well, we should make them in Maya, because it's got this kind of funky shape to it. I did create it with just capsules. If I open it up, it's actually just two simple collision capsules, and I just added capsule and then shaped it. But that's not really a preferred method either. Things like this, though, this is a perfect example of what you can do, like kind of in engine with just boxes. So what I did is I just added a box simplified collision, and then I just scaled it. So you can see if I add a box, I can scale it to the size I want. Just turn snapping off, and you can get it a lot more accurate. So that's how I did these ones. So a couple ways to do it in engine depending on what you're doing. Let's take a look at this. What is this? That's a can. So this one, if we go into player collision, let's go mesh to collision, and let's just accept that. And it should replace the old collision and give it a little bit better. I actually, the old collision that you were seeing, I created that using the convex decomposition to see if I could get a flatter top, but then I discovered this method. So this is a good method for those cylinders that don't have a kind of like a rounded capsule shape, more for just like a cylinder. But other than cylinders, I didn't really find a kind of a use case for this tool. But we can go through like all of these things and see. I think that one already was like that. Yeah, all these ones are good. What is this one? If I go player collision lit, that's a milk crate. So this one I'll want to create in Maya, just because I don't want players to really stand on top of this. I'd rather have it a triangle and have them fall off. Things like this. Yeah, this is kind of okay, but I'd rather have it where they can fall through this. So this should also be done in Maya. And I'll show you an example of one I'm going to do in Maya, which is the boot. So I've been wanting to do the boot for a little bit. It looks like we have left and right. So I'm going to right click, asset actions, export. I'll just put it on my desktop for now. You can leave pretty much all the defaults. Collision. Yeah, you can leave all the defaults. I like FBX 13 as well because it's most compatible between like Blender and other things. I'm just gonna save the raft here. I'll make a new scene. Go to desktop here. I'll drag in the boots, and then it looks like it's got collision on here. I'm just gonna delete the collision. It looks like it's got a few pieces, so what I'll do here is add a, yeah, we'll do a cylinder for the back part. You know what? Nah, let's not make someone. It's gonna make it so maybe he could stand inside it, but maybe just put it right on the ground like that. Vertices, and we'll go up a little bit. That should be good. Doesn't need to be overly perfect, but I do want to scale it kind of in and out a bit. And then for the top, you'll notice it's kind of curved. I don't really care too much about getting the curve perfect, so I'm actually just going to use a box. And that can be my little lip, actually. I can go a little extra too, and because I'm not making it concave, I can bevel, and that should be good. Then for the front part, maybe we'll just create another box. Want that. Bring this out. We'll go, sure, like this. Yeah, I'm gonna need to go like this, and then we'll make a cut. Can't make it concave, so I'm gonna leave it like this, so it's still a convex surface. And then I'll take this and reshape it to make it fit for the rest of the boot. And yeah, can't do that because that's exactly what it'll do. Pretty much the same thing Maya does when you don't have a edge to account for the like concave part. Actually, I kind of like that better. And I can even take these two things and bevel them. And then take the vertices and push them back a little bit. Maybe take these two, push them back a little farther. Oh no, we don't want to do that. But maybe that's alright. it up a little bit. Alright, and that's kind of how we want the collision. And I'm just going to use the same thing for both boots. And they have to be separate pieces. So I'm just going to group this, duplicate it, take the name SM boots, and we'll go UCX underscore SM boots L01. Copy that, paste, 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 change L to R, copy, paste. And that's my collision. So I'll take everything in here, clear numbers and history, export to desktop, and we got boot R. Clear numbers and history, boot L. Take these. Let's refresh that. And don't worry about the materials. Should fix itself. And now, oh, well, that's weird. Let's troubleshoot this here. Okay, so maybe I'll just try, project default. Make sure to have that on too. Okay, why is it not working? Sometimes these things can be weird. So sometimes what I'll do is just, if it does that kind of stuff, I'll re-import it, check my settings, make sure this is on. And then if I check collision, it's still doing that? What the hell? That makes no sense. I literally just did the whole thing for the SM boots. Is it because of that? I hope that's not what it is. Oh, okay, that must be it. You know what? If you have this issue, I don't even like the LODs. Oh wait, what the hell? Oh, that was just a layer. Okay. I'm just gonna take these out. What? What happened? Okay. I'm just gonna delete those. I can generate LODs in Engine, so I'm just gonna do that. But yeah, I guess it takes the LOD name, so just watch for that, I guess. Boots L, boots R. Say I don't need these. I can go to shoes and re-import. And then hopefully, if I look at collision, yes. Perfect. So that's, I guess you got to watch a little bit of troubleshooting too if you run into some issues. But those are a lot of the collision kind of tips and tricks. And now we have a little bit better of a play space. So ones to fix are things like this, things that you see that are smooth like that don't really kind of make sense for the top of the bottle. And if you're ever unsure, feel free to ask, because sometimes it can be a gameplay specific kind of thing, where maybe we want a collision specific way. For example, I actually just realized something that I need to do, because I lowered the these little bands, the metal bands. So if I open my scene, Raft 08, I don't need to worry about saving that. I'm gonna find this collision, and you'll see all of these are their own pieces, which kind of sucks. But if I hide that, yeah, it's a tedious job doing collision, but I mean, collision is sometimes more important than the actual mesh itself, because I mean, in a game it drives where the player is allowed to access, and it needs to be done properly. I remember working on the last open world game that I was working with, and it was very difficult to do collision, because there's so many parts of an open world map that a player can get out of. You can see now it's a little better. I maybe should have left that on. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay. So rubber, and then all my collision file export will go raft, and then I'll find my raft and re-import. Oh, I don't know why it asked me that. It knows where the mesh is. And yeah, it has about 500 collision primitives, so that's a lot. We typically don't want that on all objects. Obviously, we'd like to keep it like 1, 2, or 3 kind of max for most props, like most very simple props. But when it comes to the mesh, that's kind of the whole level. Feel free to get a little more creative with it, but it does have to be catered to. please do not be lazy and just turn on detailed collision, because you don't want to spend 3 hours building collision, because then I will end up having to do it and I won't be happy. So yeah, please just ask, or if you're unsure, or anything like that, I would rather have you ask me multiple questions than come back later and have to redo it again. But if I play now,
Your orders are in, soldier. Eliminate the
collision's
enemy's
probably
forces
much
to
better,
stay
so I
alive.
can sit down
We'll
here
need
now,
security
which is really
clearance
cool.
any threat if we're gonna win this war.
I'm pretty sure I can shoot through these holes now. Wasn't able to shoot through those before. That's something I wanted to do. Some kind of compromises too. You can notice you're having foot IK problems on things like this, so I didn't make the collision like inside. I just made the collision on the seat. This is the collision piece, and you can see it's just flat there. So feel free to also make compromises like that if you have to for gameplay reasons. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a good idea of kind of how to handle collision and stuff, and as we go through levels we'll need to fix those. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Thanks for watching.